Here's where marketing meets measurement. Binaural beats are simple. Play 210 Hz in one ear, 216 Hz in the other, and you perceive a 6 Hz wobble inside your head. That 6 Hz lines up with theta territory, which tempts the claim that your cortex will follow along. The auditory system does show a frequency-following response, timing circuits in the brainstem phase lock to the beat, but the key detail is where this happens. The strongest entrainment is subcortical, especially in midbrain hubs like the inferior colliculus. That's a timing engine, not a cortex-wide metronome. So what actually moves? Systematic reviews paint a mixed picture. Studies looking for big jumps in cognition, working memory, attention, long-term recall, often land on small, inconsistent effects. Sometimes episodic memory edges up after weeks of daily theta listening. Other times, nothing budges. Anxiety and pain, though, show more reliable shifts. 20 minutes of alpha or theta beats paired with calm cues can shave downstate anxiety and nudge pain ratings. That pattern makes sense if the main pathway is arousal control via subcortical timing plus expectation, rather than magic synchronization of the entire cortex. EEG doesn't hand us a smoking gun. You can see modest boosts in alpha or theta power in some listeners, mainly during and shortly after exposure, but the effect sizes vary and often vanish under stricter controls. More tellingly, the frequency-following response is strongest below cortex, those subcortical timing circuits centered on the inferior colliculus, while cortex stays selective. Neurons up top don't just mirror any incoming rhythm, they weigh meaning, attention, and context. In predictive processing terms, the beat is a weak prior, unless the situation makes it useful. And context is the confound that never quits. If you tell someone, this audio sharpens focus, you've already shifted their priors. Blinding is hard with audio. Beats sound different from steady tones or pink noise, and trained ears can tell. Expectation can drive outcomes. Reduced anxiety because you believe it's relaxing. Better performance because you're trying harder. Good studies fight this with active controls, open label designs that emit expectancy up front, or by measuring physiology alongside self-report. Even then, expectancy bleeds in, because belief is part of the mechanism. Dose matters too. Carrier frequency, beat frequency, session length, and listening conditions all change the experience. Theta around 4 to 7 Hz before a memory task isn't the same as alpha around 10 Hz before bed. 10 minutes daily for a month lands differently than a one-off listen. Headphones are non-negotiable. The effect depends on keeping each ear's tone isolated. Volume should be comfortable, even forgettable. Too loud and you push arousal up, not down. Individual variability is the rule. Some people are responders. Others just get annoyed. Isochronic tones muddy the waters. They chop a single tone on and off at the target frequency and deliver a clear external pulse. That can produce stronger cortical entrainment than binaurals, but it's also more intrusive and less inside the head. When you see claims about brainwave entrainment, check the method. A clean isochronic pulse can tag cortex. A subtle binaural beat is more of an attentional metronome that helps you coast. So where does that leave Gateway's sync? Somewhere realistic. Beats can help settle attention and lower arousal, which raises alpha/theta power. Modestly, it makes it easier to downweight exteroceptive noise. That's compatible with reports of mind awake, body asleep. But the leap to hemispheric synchronization as a special operational mode with laser-like coherence doesn't have strong support. Hemispheres talk all day via the corpus callosum. Coherence is dynamic and task-dependent, not a steady, tape-delivered trait. There's also a trap in chasing frequencies as if they're dials for functions. Yes, theta shows up in memory, alpha in relaxed wakefulness, gamma in attention and binding. But these bands aren't apps you can launch. They're broad, overlapping signatures of circuits doing many jobs. Turning a knob at 6 Hz doesn't boot memory mode. It might bias the system toward conditions where memory work is easier, lower arousal, stable rhythm, focused attention, but the work still depends on task demands and strategy. In predictive terms, you're nudging priors, not installing programs. A more grounded takeaway is this. Binaural beats are a gentle scaffold. Paired with slow breathing, guided imagery, and a quiet room, they help your brain decide that inside signals are trustworthy and outside signals can wait. Lower anxiety, slightly better pain tolerance, maybe a marginal bump in certain cognitive tasks after consistent use. That's the signal peeking through the noise. None of it requires hemispheres locking like gears. It requires a brain that prefers predictable rhythms when building its controlled hallucination, which circles back to Gateway's design. If the tapes weren't magical, they didn't need to be. They were timing devices, expectation primers, and attention anchors. They created the conditions for the predictive brain to relax its grip on the outside and lean into priors. Under that tilt, self-location loosens and images feel vivid. The right question isn't, do beats sync my brain? It's, do beats, ritual, and belief shift precision enough to change what I feel? The lab answer is yes, modestly and reliably enough to matter. And the hook that keeps viewers here is simple. If a 6 Hz wobble can tilt your world from the brainstem up, what else can you tune on purpose? Leaving the body, OBEs, vestibular tricks, and prediction errors. Here's where the room tilts. When people say, I was above my body, they're reporting a shift in self-location, a decision the brain makes when its best model of where I am slips off the usual anchor points. The anchor points are simple. Vision says what's in front of you, proprioception says where your limbs are, interoception tracks heartbeat and breath, the vestibular system says which way is up. At the temporoparietal junction, TPG, multisensory streams converge to stitch me in this body, in this place. Nudge those signals, or their precision, and the TPJ arbitrates a new best guess. Loosen the stitches, and location becomes negotiable. Labs have learned to do this on command. Put a camera behind you, show that feed on a head-mounted display, and tap your chest in sync with what you see. Within a minute, many people report feeling located a step or two behind themselves. Mechanistically, that's a visuo-vestibular and visuosomatosensory mismatch. The TPJ bets on temporal coherence and adopts the viewpoint that best explains the synchronous pattern. Add a gentle oscillation in the visual scene, and a slow float emerges as the vestibular prior is downweighted. It's not fantasy, it's model selection under uncertainty. Electrical or magnetic perturbation near the TPJ can do the same. Patients report shrinking, hovering, or drifting when those neurons misfire. Pilots in high G conditions describe tunneling vision, spinning, and detachment right before loss of consciousness. The common thread is a mismatch between predicted and incoming signals about motion and gravity, otolith, and semicircular canal cues disagreeing with visual flow. When prediction errors get noisy, the TPJ leans on priors, habits of interpretation, to keep a story going. If you've been primed to expect a float appears. Gateway's pipeline was built to tilt those weights. Slow breathing regularizes interoception. Progressive relaxation lowers overall arousal, which reduces the gain on exteroceptive error. Headphones supply a faint, steady rhythm to stabilize attention. Scripts plant permissive priors. You may feel swaying, you may sense expansion, you are safe. In that state, tiny vestibular ambiguities matter more. With eyes closed and muscles quiet, even micro-oscillations from heartbeat and breath can feel like motion. And the model that I'm slightly above wins because it explains the pattern with the least stress. Viral hook. Your outer body is a TPJ arbitration. You can bias with breath, rhythm, and labels. Lucid dreamers know this terrain. In REM sleep, the body is paralyzed while the brain runs high-fidelity imagery. If awareness pops on while the sensory gate is still mostly shut, you're awake inside a dream engine. Hypnagogic states, the drowsy boundary at sleep onset, carry similar looseness. Gateway aimed to hold people at that edge. Mind awake, body asleep. From there, it doesn't take much to tip into an OBE sensation. The content that follows, hallways, rooftops, coastlines, sounds like remote viewing, but we should be careful. Pattern completion loves a blank canvas. Under uncertainty, the brain fills gaps with the most likely scene pulled from memory and expectation. That's efficient most of the time. In an OBE, the brain may be sampling real cues, faint room sounds, air currents, the remembered layout, and stitching them to internally generated imagery. The result feels external because the self-model has shifted viewpoint. Combine that with authority and ritual, and the interpretation narrows. Not a vivid internal simulation, but I went there. Here's a quick micro story from a VR lab. A subject straps in for a body swap demo. The camera shows a mannequin's torso from first-person view. The experimenter strokes the mannequin's arm and the subject's hidden arm in sync. After 90 seconds, the subject gasps when the mannequin's hand is pricked. Skin conductance spikes, a classic proxy in OBE ownership experiments where threat to the seen but not felt body still triggers autonomic arousal. Then the floor in the headset dips 5 centimeters on a slow sine wave. The subject says, "I'm floating." Nothing in the room moved. The model moved because the TPJ had better odds assigning me to the camera's vantage than to the body in the chair. That relocation is a lab-grade demonstration of a controlled hallucination, a top-down self-location, guest locking to synchronize multisensory cues while bottom-up anchors are weakened. Safety matters because these tricks work by loosening grounding. Some people are prone to dissociation or depersonalization, feeling unreal, detached, or automated. For them, chasing OBEs can spiral. Good protocols build exits. Open your eyes, stand and feel your feet, name 5 things you can see and 3 you can touch. Breathe fast for 10 seconds to push arousal up and re-weight exteroception. The point isn't to gatekeep, it's to keep the tool from turning into a trap. There's a line between training flexible perception and teaching yourself to see patterns that aren't there. Gateway's instructors told trainees to describe, not interpret, for a reason. Cool breeze on my face, sensation of lift, image of a flat roof with a vent can be checked against reality. I traveled to building X and saw a secret antenna, invites confirmation bias. In remote viewing blocks, strict target pools and blind judging were attempts to police that line. The fact that arguments over leakage and statistics never ended tells you how thin the ice was. So what does an OBE mean inside a predictive brain? It means the self-model is adaptable. It can relocate, shrink, expand, or split when inputs and priors push it there. That adaptability is useful. It can reduce pain. Watching a virtual limb cool blue can lower heat pain ratings. It can ease fear. Viewing yourself from a slight distance can blunt social threat. It can unlock creative reframing. Stepping outside the body narrative frees attention to connect odd dots. But an adaptable model also hallucinates with confidence. The more compelling the ritual, the stronger the authority, the tighter the group sync, the easier it is to believe the story your brain tells to keep the world smooth. That doesn't make the experience fake. It makes it explainable and trainable. Gateway found a reliable door into that hallway. What you do once you're there depends on how tightly you hold the difference between a felt place and a mapped one. Patterning, placebo, and prediction, changing the future you feel. Let's shift from floating bodies to steering outcomes. Gateway called it patterning. Strip away the mystique, and you've got a structured way to bias a predictive brain toward a goal. Start with imagery. In sports, vivid mental rehearsal primes motor cortex and related circuits as if you're actually practicing. The shot, the swing, the breath before the serve, run it clean a few dozen times, and the neural pathways light more efficiently when it's real. That's motor priming, rehearsed sensory motor sequences, lowering the threshold for execution. Gateway harnessed that. Set a concrete target, play it through in sensory detail, then attach a cue so the model knows when to fire. That cue is the quiet engine. Implementation intentions sound dry. When X happens, I will do Y. But they work because they embed a prediction into context. When I feel my heart spike, I'll slow my exhale to 6 seconds. Now the spike isn't a surprise. It's a trigger that pulls a policy off the shelf. During focus 10 or 12, you rehearse the future with a calm body and sticky attention, then place it ahead like a chess move you've already made. The brain prefers coherence. If the future scene is familiar, behavior bends toward it. Viral hook. This isn't manifesting, it's preloading a reflex. Placebo isn't a dirty word here, it's the mechanism. In clinic after clinic, belief changes physiology. Expect pain relief and your brain releases its own opioids and tweaks dopamine. You hurt less, even when you know the pill's inert. That's open-label placebo, honest about the trick, effective anyway. Patterning rides the same top-down rails. If you mark a goal as safe, likely, and yours, arousal drops, scanning narrows to relevant cues, and you take steps you'd otherwise miss. Not because the universe noticed, because your predictions did. Time bends under this too. Arousal compresses or stretches subjective time. When you're anxious, Minutes crawl, because prediction error is high and the brain oversamples for threats. When you're absorbed, an hour snaps shut because the model's humming and error stays low. Patterning leans into that. By coupling imagery to slow breathing and stable rhythms, you tilt the system toward flow. Enough challenge to engage, not so much noise that the clock drags. That's why a 10-minute gateway tape can feel brief and deep at once. The scaffold simplifies time. Memory isn't a vault, it's a workspace. Every recall is a rewrite. Reactivate a memory while you're calm, and you open a reconsolidation window where the brain updates what the memory means. Therapies use this to blunt fear. Recall the trigger, then pair it with safety and agency. Later, the same cue predicts less danger. Patterning fits here. You call up a future stressor while your body sits in low arousal, mind awake, body asleep. Then you rehearse the desired response and save it. Next time, the cue pulls the newer story faster. Gateway scripts pushed specificity because vague priors don't bind. Be successful doesn't change much. When the red light flashes, keep my breath at 6 per minute, eyes steady, hands loose does. The more concrete the internal rehearsal, the easier it is for the predictive system to recognize matches in the wild. That's implementation intention in a jumpsuit. It's also why groups doing patterning together report a lift. Shared language and synchronized timing make the future scene a social crier. We're not lone hallucinations. We couple to each other's predictions. What about the edge cases? Time travel vibes, premonitions, the sense that a decision you made in Focus 12 shaped a result days later. Here's a grounded read. Decisions feel earlier because you rehearsed the fork and shaved deliberation when it came. You noticed a cue you'd have missed because you'd labeled it. You stepped toward an opening because it already lived in your head as the next move. Prediction surfed probability, not destiny. The brain is a gambler that hates uncertainty. Patterning stakes chips where you want the bets. There's discipline in this. Set the scene, yes, but also set the measurement. Gateway instructors told trainees to journal outcomes, not just what felt different, but what changed and when. That's how you separate expectancy glow from signal. If you log 4 nights, 10 minutes theta plus breath before sleep, rate sleep onset, wake-ups, next day mood, you'll see whether a routine helps you. If you pattern a tough conversation, note body cues, words you chose, and outcome. Then adjust the script. Prediction is plastic, but it respects constraints. Risk lives in overfitting. If every coincidence is proof, you train apophenia, detecting patterns in noise, and your world turns magical in ways that don't help. The better move is to keep the loop tight. Clear cue, rehearsed response, modest window for judging success, willingness to revise. When a plan doesn't land, you didn't fail the cosmos, you misspecified the prior. Tweak it. Here's the quiet superpower. Patterning changes what future you feels, not by forcing outcomes, but by changing the model that filters them. Lowered panic, cleaner first moves, less rumination after. In a field setting, that's gold. Back in the gateway rooms, this was the practical win hiding under the cosmic language. Train attention, script responses. Let belief do the biochemical work it's good at. Keep one foot on the data. That's how you bias a hallucination toward the life you want to live. Remote viewing. Hit rates, protocols, and skeptics. Now we walk into the room that made careers and ended them. Remote viewing wasn't a vibe. It lived or died on protocol. At Stanford Research Institute, they tried to box out every cheat the human mind can invent. 2 core formats ran for years. In Outbounder trials, a beacon person drove to a random site from a sealed pool, bridge, park, power plant, while the viewer, blind to the list, described impressions in real time. In coordinate tasks, viewers got strings of numbers paired to targets in a pre-built pool, a move meant to strip out stray verbal cueing. No think water winks, know you're warm, nudges. Targets were chosen post hoc by independent judges who matched transcripts to photos by rank order. The promise: lock the back door and see what's left. Names stuck to the lore. Ingo Swan, who helped design protocols, sketched cooling towers and spiral features more than once. Pat Price, a former police officer, described building details that later partially checked out. Files show sessions that feel uncanny next to chance, and others that read like confabulated travelogues. Even inside SRI, the hit or miss texture was obvious. That's where statistics walked into referee. Here's the pivot. Early write-ups leaned on significance. P, less than 0.05, highly significant. But significance isn't effect size. If you flip a coin 1,000 times, a tiny bias looks real. Critics asked sharper questions. How big is the deviation from chance? How often does it replicate with tighter blinding? Is there sensory leakage, accents, turn-taking rhythms, session timing that a good cold reader could ride? The file drawer problem loomed large. If 20 sessions are run and only 5 tidy hits are written up, the literature inflates itself. Analysts outside the lab flagged optional stopping, peeking at data midstream and halting when p-values dip under 0.05, as another bias that can manufacture significance without robust effects. This matters because a controlled hallucination can be socially stabilized. Once a lab's priors tilt toward "there's something here," ambiguous transcripts are easier to label as hits. Cherie's defenders pointed to meta-analyses across decades. Small but non-zero effects in free response protocols, especially when judging used rank order methods and target pools were clean. Gansfeld studies, mild sensory homogenization with red light and white noise, also reported modest above-chance identification of target images, but reanalyses chipped away. Tightening randomization, pre-registering endpoints, and sharpening blinding often shrank effects toward noise. Meanwhile, the American Institutes for Research Review in the mid-1990s that helped sunset Stargate found that while some laboratory tasks met statistical significance, effect sizes were small, protocols vulnerable to leakage and bias, and, crucially, operational value was not demonstrated. Intelligence work doesn't care about p-values. It cares whether a commander can bet lives on an output. The answer they reached was no. In other words, even if small effects peek through meta-analyses, they don't outperform discipline guessing once you harden blinding and pre-register outcomes. Let's be charitable without being credulous. What's the best human story here? Free response tasks invite pattern completion. Give a skilled imaginator an ambiguous cue. Silence, coordinates, a sealed envelope's weight, and they'll generate vivid, concrete imagery. Judges matching transcripts to targets then face a problem. Descriptions of open space, water nearby, curved structure can map onto many photos. Rank order scoring produces hits when a transcript matches one target better than others, but the base rate of partial matches muddies the pool. Add expectation and subtle cueing, tone shifts, breathing, the feedback dance after sessions, and you've got a recipe for self-reinforcing confidence. Cueing isn't always obvious. If an outbounder tends to pick scenic sites on nice days, the weather forecast leaks signal. If certain targets are more describable, transcripts skew toward them by default. If coordinators know the pool's contents, their cadence can leak class, industrial versus natural, even when they're trying not to. SRI knew this and kept tightening. Later, SIIC-era work improved target randomization and blinding, pre-registered outcomes more often, and still the effect sizes hovered low. Operational anecdotes complicate things. Stories circulate of viewers pointing analysts toward airfields, tunnels, or unique landmarks that later checked out. But checked out is slippery without pre-registered criteria, time-stamped transcripts, and public targets. Intelligence analysis already pulls from multiple, messy streams. If you're allowed to reinterpret a transcript after new data arrives, you can always find a match. That's not fraud. It's how human inference works under pressure. We backfill coherence. One more lens matters: base rate neglect. If you scan the world for unusual cylindrical structures near water post hoc, you'll find them. If you demand a blind description of a specific site at a specific time, scored by independent judges against decoy targets, you'll see how thin the ice gets. Stargate's twilight came when evaluators asked for that kind of reliability and didn't get it. The programs weren't shut down because nothing ever looked interesting. They ended because interesting couldn't cash out as actionable. Does that kill every anomaly claim? No. It frames them. In a predictive brain, under uncertainty, patterns bloom. Group belief, authority, and feedback amplify perceived accuracy. That's the same scaffolding gateway used to help people float. The difference is verification. You can't argue with a skin conductance spike when a fake body is threatened. You can, and must, Argue with a transcript that fits a photo after the fact. So where do we land? Remote viewing's strongest lab effects sit at the edge of noise. Small deviations that wobble under tighter controls, wrapped in protocols that got better and still struggled. The charitable read is cognitive superpowers we already recognize. Imagery fluency, associative search, probabilistic guessing, boosted by expectation and ritual. The bolder read, non-local perception, never met the bar intelligence work needs. Viral hook. It wasn't mind reading, it was minds reading the room. And how brains sync to build one world.